Hello and welcome to today's meeting with Jonathan Gaunt from Socket. Say hello, Jonathan.
Hey, Simon.
Hello, Jonathan. And today we're going to be talking about how your proposals are more than an initial handshake. Let's get started.
Yeah, welcome to the webinar. I'm Jonathan, and yeah, great to spend some time with you this morning. So, what I'm really keen to do is to kind of answer that question that Simon posed: is proposals are more than initial handshake, and it's one of those where if I look back, I probably spent a little bit didn't take proposals as seriously as I should have. And then over the last couple of years, I've realized the whole kind of potential there. But I guess it's worth kind of saying is who am I to kind of talk about it? So a bit of background about myself. I'm Jonathan Gaunt. I've got two businesses. One of those is an accounting practice. I'm also Xero's MVP for the current year. And so yeah, I kind of I live and breathe the creating of proposals on a daily basis, and I'm very fortunate that I've got some great friends and kind of business partners who are technology experts, and you may know us from Xavier Analytics, which is now Dex Precision, and as a team we built that with a few others. And then we decided at the beginning of 2023 that actually there was still an awful lot of existing problems within the accounting and bookkeeping practice which weren't solved. And so that's really what we were kind of setting out, is to how can we make it easier for you running your business on a day-to-day basis. And we spent the first 6 months really kind of exploring different ideas. But what we kept on coming back to was that there was opportunities in the proposal, and this was almost the statement that we started with: of the proposal should drive all of the work done in the practice, but at the time it wasn't. So what do I mean by that? I guess the proposal is almost like one of the most important documents you've got before you start work. You should almost be looking at it and saying, is this included within the scope? And if it's not, then is there more work? Is there less work? But I think you should always be kind of coming back to that and saying, what is the client engaged me to be able to do? And yes, you've got the recurring work. And so straight away, as that changes throughout the year, so as a client takes on a new employee, you should start to kind of reflect that in the latest proposal you send out to them. Equally, if a client comes to you and says, can you do this piece of work? Then yes, we should be really helpful. But if they're not paying for that piece of work, then that's the bit where you should almost be going back to them and saying, yes, I can do that, but there's a cost associated with it. And I think that's the challenge. As soon as we start to say there's a cost associated with it, we tense up. There's an element of fear there. So what you might want to be able to do initially is to send out some of those with a zero value, because actually what that's then doing is training you and the client to kind of get into that habit of pricing for that additional work. And then once you've sent that, ultimately you've got the option. The client's either going to come back to you and say, yes, please do that work, or else they're going to come back and go, actually, don't worry, I'll do it myself. Or thirdly, it's almost like, actually, it's not important. And I think for me, this is the bit of it's win-win. Either you're going to get paid for the work you're doing, or else you're going to get some time back. So it's really important that we start to get our head around that. But let me give you a bit of an overview then as to what we're trying to do with Socket. So Socket is really kind of building that kind of system at the start of the start of the engagement initially, but then it's constantly kind of evolving. So that circular process is really important. So it starts with pricing. So what's your pricing methodology? And here I'm very passionate about being able to do the pricing in front of your clients. I think that's really, really important because then they know that you've got a methodology. They know that there's a way of you kind of calculating it, but actually doing it in front of the client, you also then start to understand some of their kind of challenges. If the price is too much, then you can start to change that whilst you're having that conversation. So you've got your pricing methodology. You can then use that to create your proposals. Once you've then had a proposal accepted by the client, you can create your letter of engagement. And then from that, we're starting to kind of automate some of the kind of the workflows of great reporting, but also then getting into that billing management. And by enclosing this all within kind of Socket and giving you one place to be able to make these changes, it will then start to make this a slicker process and it will get you to that point of a single version of the truth. As I say, this is a starting point. We're going to be building from here as well. So we've talked about we'll talk about a lead module. We're also then talking about how do we monitor some of those drivers. So that might be the number of employees, or how do we start to take invoices from zero, and then how do we start to get kind of smarter with that. And so the product is going to be consistently evolving over time. But I'm sure you've heard enough of me kind of talking through a presentation, and you probably want to dive in and see what Socket looks like. So let's do that now. So where I'm going to start here is we're always in a safe mode. And what this basically means is that we're able to send emails within our own domain. But at any point in time, what you can do if you want is you can come in and you can reset absolutely everything. And again, that can be also resetting your prices and service configurations. So I'm going to do that now for the purpose of this. And then where I'm going to start is I'm going to start by building out that services and pricing menu. A couple of options here. You can start from scratch. You can use some sample data. So again, that's a great way of you starting to think about how you might price if you've not already got an existing methodology. But if you're coming from Go Proposal, we've got a really smart way of doing that. So what I'm going to do is I've got an example of a Go Proposal pricing matrix. I'm going to click on that. I've got my PDF and I'm going to click on open and I'm going to start the importing process. So what this is doing is this is literally going through that PDF and it's reading all of the information and it's building out your pricing. So when we get into the tool, what you should be able to see then is you should recognize the pricing methodology that you're using in Go Proposal is what you will see in Socket. And that's pretty much what you can use as your starting point. So we've got the green tick. Let's dive in. So all of these sections have come from that import template. If you want, you can add your own sections. So by sections, I mean like bookkeeping services. I can move all of these sections around if I want to, but you should recognize everything within here. What's not imported is the paragraph descriptions. Couple of options here. You can copy and paste them from existing kind of records, or what you can also do is you can use a bit of AI magic, click on that description, and then it's kind of populated. So let me update that. And then I would need to do a similar exercise here on the services. Let me generate that. And whilst that's generating, what I'll also show you is down the bottom here, we've got a number of different billing methodologies. So within Socket, you are able to have one, you can select monthly, and then when we come to build the proposal, you can move between monthly and annual kind of billing. We've also got alignment fees, and as and when we start to bring in the schedules of services, you can also then see that you can link that schedule of service back to your kind of pricing menu. So I'm happy with monthly. And then within that, we then get into the overall drivers. And these drivers, they're there for you to, you can have as many as you want. They should be evolving over time. So again, if you work out that actually a particular client isn't profitable because they've got things like foreign currency in there, you can start to kind of tweak that and add in. So here we've got that range, which has already been imported for us. If we wanted to, what we can do is we can click here and we can edit the driver. So again, for the purpose of this, I would like to go up to 100. And you can see that all I'm doing here is I'm just tabbing through. So I can tab that through and we've got to 100. And then if I just update that driver, literally then what we've done is everything here has been populated and is ready for us to use. What we also then do is then once we're happy with that, we need to come up and publish the pricing. So part of the reason why we're publishing the pricing is because you may want to put a new rate in play in a couple of months. So again, let's say we're going to increase our entire pricing menu from April. What you can do is you could then effectively kind of copy this and then start to build out a new pricing menu, which you can adopt in the future. So let's say you wanted to put a rate change in across your entire client base for April. You can start building out your pricing matrix now. And then what you can do is we can then do a bulk adjustment and it will go through and it will apply that pricing rate to all of the existing volumes across your proposals. So that means that you can entirely reprice your entire client base within a couple of clicks. And that's also then perfect for things like price rises. So Xero put their prices up a couple of months back. For us, it was relatively easy to be able to do because we could just go in, change the rate card, and then apply that to all of our client base. And we send it out in a really nice, friendly way.
Hello, Jonathan. I'm just going to jump in if I can because I've got some
Yep.
questions
Yep.
that are coming through. So just going back to the transfer or the import from Go Proposal, um, you don't have to do anything in Go Proposal. Is that right? You do it all through Socket.
You do it all through Socket. So,
Yep.
so this is about bringing across your pricing menu at the
Yeah.
moment. You can also bring you across your historic proposals.
Oh, okay.
You,
So
you, you,
that's another question. So Martin's asked that question. So Martin asked, can you import outstanding unsigned proposals from Go Proposal?
right. So I would recommend that you rebuild those within Socket. So
Okay.
if you've got something that's unsigned, I would literally build them because the imported proposal we can use from a billing point of view, but you would still need to recreate that proposal with all of the drivers in Socket.
Okay.
But we've tried to make it as easy as possible, and we're bringing across as much information as possible to make it as easy for you.
Okay, so basically, we can import the pricing matrix. We then need to cut and paste the descriptions, which is a two-screen copy and paste admin
Yeah,
job type scenario. Yeah, and then the proposals they can be brought across, but your recommendation is they're not, so they're rebuilt to make sure that it works properly.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And then you can use all of the other features that I'm going to show you in a minute. But it's that bit of you've got to kind of create the foundation of the proposal in Socket to then see the value.
brilliant. And then just to for me to get clarity over what you said, because I think this is a really important point. When you're doing price increases, you can just do a percentage increase across the lot if you want.
We haven't built that at the moment. So at
Okay,
the moment, what you would do is you would go in and you would tweak any of the price drivers. So
okay,
you would go through and then you would change these.
yeah.
And then what you can do is you can then literally say, take all of my existing proposals and use
Oh,
the
okay,
new
right,
pricing menu to
right,
apply to it. But
right.
again, this is the bit where we've got an active roadmap
Yeah.
and we want to hear from our users what it is they want to do. And so if there are things like, oh, can I uplift everything by 5%? It's those bits that we are actively building.
Working on.
And I guess that's where we're perhaps slightly different to some of the other software in the space we are actively building. So if you come back in a month, the likelihood is you're probably going to start to see new things in there because we are loving building the and filling some of the
Software.
gaps.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you. Um, what about from Ignition, Practice Ignition? Is there a similar sort of process?
So we have got one, but it's interesting because Ignition doesn't really work in the same way
Okay.
of driver pricing. So we're happy to kind of sit down with any Ignition users and help them to kind of shape their pricing because this is more about using drivers, whereas Ignition is a little bit more simplified in terms of you pick the overall deliverable, but you don't pick how to drive the price.
Okay, brilliant. That makes no sense to me, but hopefully the Ignition people that makes sense. And so basically, you can help them move across
Yep.
and as effectively as possible. Thank you. And then Joan has asked, can we change the service header names, e.g., advisory services? Can we
Absolutely.
also add service groups, e.g., tax?
Yep. So absolutely, what you've got here is this is all free format. So you can have whatever heading you want. You can have whatever service descriptions you want. It's almost like it starts blank and then you can add it and then you can move things around as you see fit. And again, if you wanted to, you can move these between sections. So we've created something where it's very, very easy to kind of tailor it to how you want it to look.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you. I'll leave you to carry on, Jonathan.
Thank you. So what we've also then got then is we've also got letters of engagement that are included within here. So I'll jump across to my other demo here. And then what we've effectively got here is, let me click on the settings and then let me come down to Socket Engage. So what we've got here within Socket Engage is the ability that we will manage all of the letters of engagement for you in terms of kind of content. And we've got a different way of being able to do things like terms and conditions and privacy policy. So what you've got here is effectively then you've got a wizard that you can kind of go through. And this is all of the placeholders that you will need on your letter of engagement. So we've created a very kind of simple way of doing that. And then what we've also then got for things like the privacy policy, what we're able to do is we're able to host that for you. And so what we can then see here is if I click on that, you'll see effectively then it's a web page and it's also then dated. So as and when you changed your privacy policy, it would then change, but the link that you've shared with your clients will always stay the same. So they are always looking at the latest version of it. Now, in terms of this, it's all kind of configurable, but at the moment you'll see that it's got engage against it. If I went in and I wanted to change something, what you'll see then is it's then showing is that section is edited. If I wanted to, I can always revert back to the original. And what we've done here is we've worked with Ian Waters, who is kind of an expert in the space. He used to be head of professional standards for ACCA. And so what he's done is he has created best in class letters of engagement, which cover all of the kind of bodies. So you can kind of get up and running very, very quickly. So that's then Socket Engage.
So that was one of the questions, Jonathan. So are the letters of engagement kept up to date? So the
Yes.
answer to that is yes. And then are they also made specific by a regulatory body?
No. So what we've done there is we're looking across a regulatory body, and it's almost that bit of, well, if ICAEW has adopted something but ACCA hasn't, then actually let's go with the best in class. So it's there for a reason. So we are comfortable that this is compliant across all of the major kind of bodies in the UK. And like this is Ian's day job. He does it
Okay.
for large firms all the time. So yeah, we're quite lucky to have him on board.
So,
Sorry.
so my answer to that, Jonathan, is it's not written specific for one body. It is the best of everything, the
Yeah,
best of all of the bodies in one place.
yeah,
Brilliant. Thank you.
absolutely. So what you're then able to do is from here, then you can create your letters of engagement. So let's say this for an organization. This is for a demo with Simon. And then what we've got is everything is then kind of perfectly templated for us to use. And what we've also then got is we've also got then the option of being able to create the schedule of service. Why can I never spell bookkeeping? And then the last thing that we would do there is then link that back to the pricing menu. So let me then get into creating a proposal. So what we've got is we've started off by creating a leads module. And so the idea here is that we get so much there's opportunities, but a lot of you would be using different systems and sometimes things get lost. So what we've got here is we've got a very simple leads module where you can capture things from an inquiry, go through the various stages, and then when we get to the point of raising a proposal, you'll then see that it's almost saying, do we want to start a proposal? So I'll jump into there. Um, and then you'll see here, it's actually then pre-populated all of the information. So we're trying to make it as simple as possible. What I'm going to do there is I'm going to remove that client and I'm going to think of a client. I'm going to go, I'm just looked out the window, oak tree. So this is then a link through to Company's House. So we're making it as easy as possible for you to link things up. You could, if you're using Carbon, FYI, XPM, you could then link through to your existing kind of clients. So we can bring those in and then it'll be pre-populated. So you just go and select them from the drop-down list and away you go. I'm going to do a proposal now for Oak Tree, Aberdeen. And I'm going to be doing a proposal for Peter. So Peter at example.com. We save that. So to answer Leander's question, you could add multiple clients into the same proposal as well. So for example, if it was a holding company or a dormant company, then you can have as many as you want. And again, you get the same view that is then replicated across. So I'm going to pick who the owner is. So we're going to do Magic Brian. We're going to select the letter of engagement, and you could, if you wanted to, you could also issue it with no letter of engagement. We've also got the capability of you can issue a letter of engagement without a proposal. And again, we're working with some larger firms. So for example, milestones like when they've bought a practice, we're looking at how we can bulk issue engagement letters for them. So we could go through and we could also use a template. I'm not going to do that for the purposes of this. And then what we could also do, if we wanted to, is to add in alignment fees and a start date. And that start date could be in the future. Right. So this is then how you start to build out your proposal. You've got all of the various kind of sections that you would recognize from your pricing kind of menu. And we've tried to make it as clean as possible so that you can navigate around easily, but you can also then do the proposal in front of your client. So we're going to do something very, very simple here. We're going to do year-end accounts. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to select the various inputs for that. And you'll see at the moment it's then coming up with a monthly price for that. I can click on that, and then what I can see here is I can then see how that price has been built up. So again, it's helping you to kind of understand, and there's no jumping between the front and the back to try and understand what's going on there. If you wanted to, you could bill this on an annual perspective. And by clicking on that, you'll then see that it's taken that monthly fee and it's multiplied it by 12. I'm going to go back to monthly here and I'm going to click save there. And then what you'll see over here is it's then starting to kind of build up the price. And what we've got here is you can then see that how those fees kind of break up between monthly, annual, and one-off. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in payroll. And what it's also then doing here is it's asking me, do I want to see that fact throughout the model? So again, if number of employees was used elsewhere, then it's just then making it easy to kind of populate it. So the last thing I want to do is this client is moving across from, say, we're doing a migration from spreadsheet to Xero. And what I can do then here is I can then start to sketch out what that project looks like. So again, I can detail the type of work we're going to do. And then we're getting into this point of how do I want to price it? So I could do a flat fee. Let's say it was £1,500. I can, if I want to, I can then put in some additional kind of context to explain it. And then what I could do is I could also then do an additional step. So this is a great way for you to think about how do you break the work down into manageable chunks. And I think that if I go back to my own experience, I wasn't particularly good at shaping the size of a project. So what this does is it starts to kind of get you thinking about what are the bits of the work you're going to be doing, and then making sure that you've got the pricing right there. Here, I'm then saying that I'm going to get one of the team to do a bit of work, and I could put that detail here. But actually, with a lot of these projects, we know there's a bit of risk. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an estimate, and I'm not very confident. So I'm going to do plus or minus 50%. And so what you'll see here is it's then giving me that range of plus or minus 50%. And then over here, we've got the midpoint. So at the beginning, I talked about the kind of the concept of work orders. And this is pretty much FD Works, how we manage those work orders. So if something comes in and it's not a one-off piece of work, what we will do is we will literally kind of dive down to this project piece, and then we will kind of scope out what we're doing for the client. And then we will send that to them as a proposal for them to kind of accept. And then from within Socket, we're able to do all of the billing. We can also, so it might be a good idea to give them some video, some Xero training. So again, we've added that in. And what we can start to see here is how that's then building up over the different types of work. So I'm comfortable that I've covered everything there.
So, Jonathan, I've got some questions. Just to recap or go back onto Leander's question, can you create proposals with multiple entities? So can you have one proposal with more than one company?
Absolutely.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you. And then when you was looking at the accounts production quote, can you add extra categories? I know some accountants have standard of accounting records, for example. Can you add that as a multiplier in there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the pricing menu that we imported, that is completely configurable. So
Okay.
you can have, if you wanted to, you could have 50 input drivers. Now, what we're seeing is because we're able to get the information very easily out of sockets, we're seeing users then almost build a bit of an onboarding checklist. So it's not driving the price, but what it's doing is it's prompting you to have the conversation with the client in terms of, okay, Do I need to register you for PAYE? Do I need to set something up? So some of those are non-chargeable events, but it's a great way of facilitating the conversation and then making sure that you've got that information in the back end.
Excellent, thank you. Um, and then Ben has asked, is there a feature in the software to schedule renewals for clients every 12 months? For it to automatically happen, or is there a reminder
So
system
it's
on it?
not at the moment, but again, this is something that we've talked about internally, and so it's something that is likely to appear at some point on the roadmap.
Thank you. And then Ross has asked, for bookkeeping prices, what detail can you add, i.e., number of banks, number of transactions, frequency of reconciliation, etc.? Well, I think from what you've just said about the account, you could add as much
Yeah.
as you
So,
want.
so if I go back to the pricing menu, so what we can do here is we could create a new pricing menu. Let's say we're going to copy an existing pricing menu. And then, so what I can do is I can kind of come into here. So let's say we wanted to build out this one. We can add in a new driver, and you've got all of the options of what type of input is it? Is it a add, subtract, multiply, divide? So you can literally build as many of these as you want in there. So you could go through, and if you wanted that to be quality of records with a driver, then absolutely you can do all of that so that it's customizable. And what I would also recommend is this is where the learning comes in of why aren't you making money on that particular type of client? Oh, it's because they have messy records, or it's the fact that they're foreign currency. It's capturing all of those like nuggets and then it's bringing it back into your pricing menu. So it's a bit like Christmas. A dog's not just for Christmas. Your pricing menu's not just for Christmas. It should constantly evolve.
Brilliant, thank you.
So let me then jump back into the kind of the workflow. So what we've done here is we've started to kind of create that process. Now, before we send this to Peter, we've got a couple of options. So we've got standard wording in here. So for example, here we've got various introductions. We could, if we wanted to, we could generate a new wording using AI. And what this would do is then this will take into consideration all of the services that have been selected. I could do a Loom video and include that. I could also include a video of Rick Ashley and include that in there. I can literally pretty much kind of customize every single step as I go through. Now, what you'll see at the top, it's also said here that some of the dynamic tags in the letter of engagement aren't populated. So I can whiz down to this section at the bottom, and what I'm able to do here is I can then change that description, and then it will populate that letter of engagement before it goes out. If you wanted to, equally, you can also then jump into your letter engagement. So you'll see here, that's the bit that it's not isn't populated. So I could, if I wanted to, I could go in and I could delete it or I could change it. And then what you will see is if I change that and apply it, it will then show that it's been edited. Before we send it to the client, we've then just got this very kind of simple summary. And you'll see there, we've also then got alignment fees that have been brought into it. We've got the planned start date. There's two options then in terms of how you send this to the client. You can send it for approval via an email. And again, we've got the option of that email coming from your own domain. We need to do a little bit of kind of configuration, but we're able to do that, or else you're able to get a link and you can include that link in your own email that you're sending to them. So in terms of what does the client see, we've got the introduction. We've got the video. So again, that could be a video about your practice. It could be a Loom video where you talk it through. We've got some information about the start dates. We've then also got the testimonials. So this is then where it gets quite interesting. You can include your own PDF. And so this might be where you talk about the onboarding process. It might be where you talk about all of the services, your team. It's entirely customizable and it's for you to use as you see best fit. We then get into the overall kind of shaping of the proposals. So you can see the various sections. And within the next couple of weeks, we've also got packages coming as well. So you've almost got the starting could be, do they want gold, silver, or bronze? And then they can kind of dive into the detail. So here then we can also then see the project that we've scoped out. So hopefully the client's happy with all of that. We've then got into a very simple summary of what does it all look like. And then on this final step, what we've got is we've got the letter of engagement with all of the schedules of services, which are centered around the proposals that have been selected, and then the client will sign that. So once the client signed it, literally then the next bit you need to do is just confirm the start date. And the reason we're doing that is because not sometimes you think you're going to start in February, but the reality is you might start at a later date. And so all you're doing there is you're just confirming that start date, and then that is included within your next billing run. So let's assume we've just had a conversation with a client and they want us to make a couple of changes to that proposal. So what I've done is I've been speaking to Peter from Small Fish. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to do a minor adjustment. So we're happy with all of the setup, nothing to change there. And then I'm going to quickly come in here and I'm going to change some of the pricing. So we're going to move from monthly to quarterly VAT returns. So I've changed that. You can see the new and you can see the old price. He doesn't want to do report and accounts. He thinks they're overrated. So I'm going to take that out. And then we're also going to add in a new service, which is staff expenses. And they've got a lot of staff expenses. So we're going to include that. On this next screen, you'll then see that we've got the comparison between the old proposal and the new proposal. So what we can see here is the overall fee has gone up by £221.77. And then we can see a breakdown of what's changed. So again, you've got that ability to be able to kind of review, but you're not jumping between old and new. You're not doing what we did and build it in a spreadsheet so that we could then compare it. And it took a couple of hours to get a proposal out the door. So I'm comfortable with all of this. The next step, I can customize everything. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to include a practice brochure, because in that practice brochure, I also talk about all of the services we can provide, because in the past we've lost clients because they go to a competitor, and then when we ask why, they're saying, oh, they're offering this great service, and it's like, we could have done that. So again, it's a great opportunity for you to sell the services that you provide and just reinforce what you can do. So what the client sees, so before we send it out, we've got the ability, and again, you could have included a Loom video there as well. So quick summary in terms of what the client sees. Introduction, PDF. We're then talking here only about the changes. So there's more on their proposal, but all we're doing is we're just highlighting what's changed. And what we don't want to do is don't want to then go through that endless conversation of, but I'm not paying £5 per employee for payroll. It's not on here. We're not opening the discussion. And then all we're doing here is we're just saying that pricing is changed and it's changing from now. We're not asking for a signature. So that is a minor adjustment. What we've then got is, once you've done all of those changes, we can manage all your billing. So what we don't want you to do is to have to create repeating invoices in Zero. We can manage that all for you. So if I go back to June, because that was quite an active month, what we can do is we can start to say, here's all of your new clients. Is that right? And again, I can see we've got some detail around how that billing looks. We've got expansion, we've got contraction. So the idea here is you can quickly review what's changed. And if you're happy with it, you can approve that plan. What we're then doing is we're then generating those invoices and we're pushing them across to your ledger. So for example, Zero. And then we're allowing Zero to collect via Go Cardless. So there is a question in there around, are we going to do an integration with Adfin? Um, yes, we are, but I'm not allowed to talk about it yet. But that is on the roadmap, and that's a nice alternative to Go Cardless.
Very diplomatic there, Jonathan. So I'll jump in at that point because I've got lots of questions about integrations, and it could be a yes, no, some point in the future if you like. So Dex Precision and Xenon. I know lots of people or some people use to import that data in order to create their pricing
Yeah.
structure.
So Dex Precision, yes. Xenon, not at the moment. But if our users want it, then it will force us to look
To
at an
put it
integration
on
with
the
them.
roadmap.
I'll show you
Brilliant.
something in a moment which will help you understand the drivers and can perhaps make life easier for everyone.
Excellent. Thank you. Bright Manager.
Bright Manager, not at the moment.
No.
But again, if there's demand, then we'll definitely look. Part of it comes down to do the other apps we're looking to integrate with have an API? And
Yeah.
so there's quite a few where surprisingly they don't have an API, so it's difficult to get in there. We do have a Zapier, and Zapier can always make you happier.
Excellent. I like that too. And then FYI Elite. That'd be the. I mean, that will hearing a lot about FYI at the moment.
Okay.
But is that
So
similar?
we've literally just finished development of an FYI integration. At the moment, what it will do is it will bring across all of your client and contacts. And then when a proposal is marked as one, what it will do is it will push the proposal, a PDF of the proposal into FYI. We're hoping that that is going to be live mid February, so it's not
Okay.
very far away. And again, that's stage one. We are then looking at how can we build a deeper integration with FYI, similar with Carbon.
Brilliant. And then Carbon. I think you've already said yes to Carbon.
Yep.
Yeah. QuickBooks Online.
So QuickBooks Online, um, you're able to do that via Adfin.
Okay. Adfin was just asked about, and then that was just generally thinking around integration with software. So that's covered all those. And then just as a geeky thing, so those of you that don't know, Mark, who works with me, used to be in technology, used to do IT and whatnot. Mark has sent me the bit about the email coming from your own domain is very important. As from a geeky point of view, that means that it was less likely to go in the junk mail. So Mark just wanted to share that to make sure that everybody knew.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like we spent quite a bit of time understanding that
Yeah.
and almost like addressing that issue. There's a couple more things I'm going to just dive in
But
very, very quickly around work management. So this is the one-off pieces of work, and so what you're able to do is you're able to build that from within Socket. So if, for example, we completed both pieces of work here, I can then tick and then I can click. And then what that will do is then that will create those invoices within your ledger. And the bit that I get quite excited about is I had a big frustration about all of that data being locked into within the proposals. And if I wanted to see that, I had to run it manually. Now, what we've got is we've got a Google Sheet integration. So it's in the marketplace. So what you're able to do is literally install this either just on your own profile or on your practice domain. And then what this will do is then this will give you this little add-on here, which is Socket Insights. You can set your API key up, and then once you've set your API key up, you've got the ability to be able to select a reporting period. And then once you've done that, you can click on your one of the available reports. And this will give you across the top, it will give you all of the services. And down the side, it will give you all of the clients. And what you've got here is a little heat map to show you which services you're providing to which clients. So this is a massive opportunity for you then to start looking and doing upselling. So literally you can then start to see, well, why hasn't April Limited then got staff expenses, particularly if you're doing payroll for them. So again, you can start to group these. And what I will do is I've literally just changed the name there for Alex. And if I then rerun this, what you'll see is it's then going to highlight it red because it's saying you've no longer got a proposal. So again, it's a really nice way. And you can also then add in values. So yeah, a great way of being able to do that. We can also then do this by clients and services. So again, you can start to see that information and you can build a lot out. But where it's really insightful is then for things such as list my drivers by client. So what you might want to do then is you can then jump in very, very quickly and you can start to say, okay, which are the clients that I'm providing payroll for? What's the number of employees that I've got on there? And then if that's wrong, what you're able to do then is just quickly jump back into Socket, create a minor adjustment, and then get it up to date and get this in line. So we're big fans of how can we unlock that information and how can we start to generate some of those reports which will save you time. And I suspect there's lots of you who are running similar reports and running similar reports in a very, very manually.
So, Jonathan, just if I could just give a stupid summary of that, if you like.
Yeah.
So, um, through Google Sheets, we can go in and we can extract a list of clients that we're providing to our customers and
Yeah.
the holes where we're not providing those services. So, the upsell, cross serve, whatever language you want to call it, opportunity. That's that first sheet, and it then gives us the values as well, so we can see which service is potentially the most profitable, which customers got the highest fee, etc., and how that's broken down. And then in addition to that, we can basically itemize the drivers, what is cost, what we are charging our clients for. So I could produce that list of employees. I could give it to the payroll team and say, look, has Widgets Tech really got 15 or have they now got 18? They can
Yeah.
go through and tick it. And then, so instead of me having to go through each proposal and have I done it or have I not done it, and people having to remember it or have a monthly process where they go in and check it, it could just, it becomes effectively an admin job, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we don't want it to be an admin job. We want to automate it. So
Yeah.
these are some of the things we've got on the roadmap is
Okay.
to how do we just make these jobs simpler and simpler for you?
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. And then I've got a couple more questions that have come in. So Natalie's asked, do you get notifications when proposals are read?
Yes. So we can push it into a Slack channel. If you look within the proposals as well, we have got a timeline. Um, but example, clicked on the wrong thing. Um, so we've got an activity timeline. So everything is
Oh,
kind of,
brilliant. Okay, so you can see when it's been approved, when it's been viewed, when it's been sent, and oh, okay, all the way through. So you can track that through.
yeah.
Thank you. And then Martin's asked, can the annual zero price increase be sent through to existing invoices in zero? So the update the existing sales invoices.
So we generate the invoices that go into Zero. So again, you don't have to update Zero anymore. We will generate those invoices for you on a monthly basis. So you update Socket, and then Socket will generate the invoices and push them into Zero. So what a lot of you will probably be doing is creating repeating invoice in Zero. You don't need to do that anymore within a Socket world. You just create your proposal, mark the one date, and then we will manage the monthly generation of all of those invoices.
Okay, so right, so let's just go down that rabbit hole, if I may, for a bit. So, whereas at the moment, lots of us will have reoccurring invoices in Zero or wherever. If at Zero input the price, we've got to go into all of those 200 customers and change it from 26 quid to 28 quid or whatever the figure is. Whereas with Socket, you change it once, it then goes through and changes it in all the proposals,
Yeah.
and then on a monthly basis, on a date that we determine. Is that
So you can determine it at a client level. The
yeah?
majority of what we're finding, the majority of people are sending invoices out on the first of the month.
Yeah. So we determine a date of the first of
Yeah.
the month, and then it automatically generates the invoice with the due date for it then to collect the DD if we're on DD.
Yep. Yep.
Excellent, brilliant.
So yeah. So that's really an overview of where we got to with kind of Socket. So it's starting to bring everything together. You can manage it from that very first lead through to kind of creating the proposal. Once you create that proposal for the first time, we're then making it incredibly easy for you to be able to kind of update it and apply those changes. So that's the kind of the real kind of focus of you shouldn't be doing a proposal once a year. You should be looking at that proposal as you go through the year. And I think there's a massive opportunity there for you to really add value to what you do and also keep nudging that price to reflect the activity of the work that you're doing. In terms of some of the things that we've got on the roadmap, we are looking at how we can do some of the pricing monitoring. So Simon said about giving information to the payroll team. We want to be able to almost like, can we do more of that? And then if it has changed, we can then automate it within the system. So it's those types of things that we're really, really kind of excited about doing. Um, so the leads module, we're building that out. The reporting, we're constantly kind of listening to what our clients want there. So that's an overview of the overall kind of product. In terms of getting started, so we have tried to make it as easy as possible. So we've demonstrated to you today about how you can bring your own services and pricing and how we can kind of import that. And that's a click of a button. We have got, if that doesn't work, you can create your own. We've got a template which you can use as a starting point, or if you want, you can start from scratch. In terms of those client lists, we've talked about integrations. You can also import CSV file if you want. And then from the engagement letters, you can bring your own, but we'd like you to use Socket Engage. And yeah, hopefully we've made that process very, very simple for you. In terms of pricing, this is our kind of pricing. What we're doing is we're looking at it from an active client's perspective. So it's not about the number of proposals. We are talking about kind of taking this number of users away because actually we just want you to be creating the proposals as much as possible. And in terms of onboarding, we are here to help. So we don't want you to be sitting there saying, I haven't got time to onboard. We've created that process to be very slick. We had someone who joined us last week and we had a conversation with him late afternoon. And then by the next day, they'd sent their first proposal out. So it doesn't take time. And we are on board to kind of help you with that process. Other things, then we've got some of the pro features. So again, the pro features are available on the starter package as well as the pro package. And then what we've also got is something we're looking at the moment is socket on board. And with part of that socket on board, that's where we will start to look at how we can integrate with tools like Zama. So we know this is a new client. We know what services we're going to provide to them. How can we collect the right information as we go through, and how do we make it as easy as possible? In terms of how to get started, head to AppSocket, app.usocket.com. Take out a free trial. But what I would recommend is I would recommend you checking in with us and booking some time. So from our website, and Mark, I think you're going to put this in the chat if you haven't already. Um, you can book some time with us, and we're here to help you get set up on kind of Socket. And as Simon sort of said, there's no stupid questions, and we'd love to spend time with you just to help you get up to speed as quickly as possible. So in terms of next steps and actions, head you can do it from here. So from usocket.com, sign up, but as soon as you've kind of put in your details, come back and book a call. And I'm kind of like blocking out my diary now to spend time with people to help them get on board. So yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone. We are here to help, and we're here to support you through the process. And that is Socket.
That's brilliant, Jonathan. Thank you. So Mark has popped the URL to start that free trial in the chat box. Do you recommend, Jonathan, that they speak to you, have a chat first with you before they start the free trial, or start the free trial and then have a chat with you once they've had a play around with it?
By all means, I would say I reckon I could get you up and started quicker if you book some time. So what I would say is stick some time in there. Say that you've been part of the webinar, and if you want to speak to me, just stick my name in there, and I'll try and jump on as many of those calls as possible. And yeah, we wanna get you using Socket. And what we're really excited about is how can kind of build it. So we've not finished by any shape, stretch of the imagination. We've got loads of great ideas, but actually a lot of the best ideas are probably sitting on the people on the call today.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you. And there's lots of stuff coming through. Christy, sorry, as I said, found the Socket team eye-opening, and Lena has put in. There's lots of different positive comments about the work that you're doing, Jonathan. So that's great. Andrew's asked, will it integrate with Zama for MLID? I'm not sure what that is, but I
Money
do know.
laundering IDs. So
Oh,
it's
oh
definitely,
yes, of course. We do money laundering stuff, but I you just did the.
you just look at them, you just look at them and go, yep, seen them.
That's it.
I draw a picture. You draw a little picture of them.
Prod
Yeah,
them.
that's
They're
definitely them.
alive. That's
Yeah.
the.
No, so that's one of the ideas around Socket on board is about almost like we know that this is a new relationship. How do we start to integrate? So that's a big theme across the whole of Socket is how do we integrate with those existing tools that you're using? And again, we're listening to our kind of client base, and if there's someone we're not integrating with and you want us to, if there's a populace of it, then we will definitely have those conversations.
Excellent. Thank you. And then just as a question just popped in the chat box, just to summarize, this isn't a practice management system. It deals with the proposal side of things. So you would still need Carbon, Glide, etc., for the workflows.
Yep.
Brilliant. And then the last one, and this is an important one, and it's something that we're going to be talking about a lot at GRF Mastery on the 6th of March, where Jonathan will be joining us as well, is around this additional work orders, the extra work orders. Now, Jonathan shared 10 to 15% earlier. We did some benchmarking work just over 12 months ago now, and the average across the community was 10%. So obviously Jonathan's got that now. Can you you can create, just to confirm, you can create a standalone proposal for that additional work. So you don't have to add it to the accounts work and the payroll work and all that sort of stuff.
No,
So you can do as many proposals as you like for as many customers as you like,
yeah.
basically.
So when you come to do a renewal, what we'll do is like, so when I create a new proposal here, let's say it's for an existing customer, it will kind of flag that there's already a proposal in place for them. And so you've literally got that option. If you want to, you can almost kind of build a new one which doesn't impact that regular proposal.
Excellent. And then that will push the invoice into zero
Yep.
exactly the same. It'd just be a separate invoice on a separate thing and
And
await for it.
it's got the detail in terms of what the work does. So again, we're using this as what we had historically was the problem of we would go to the client and say, can we do this additional work? But then we wouldn't bill for it. So the
Yeah.
fact we've got it all in one area is then making it super simple.
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. Thank you, Jonathan. I'll just check that there are no additional questions, which there aren't. So that just leaves me to say thank you very much to Jonathan for coming along. Bang on time as well, Jonathan. So thank you very much for coming along and sharing with the community. Thank you to everybody that's come along and asked questions. Mark has put the link in the bottom of the chat box as well. So if you click that and have a chat with Jonathan and have a proper look and a proper play, I am sure you'll be delighted. So that's it for us now, and just leaves me to say thank you very much and goodbye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Cheers, Jonathan. Bye
Bye.
bye, mate. Thank you for watching this video with Jonathan Gaunt from Socket talking about how you can deliver proposals to your customers. I thought the bit about the extra work orders and hitting that 10% was absolutely fantastic. I hope you did too. If you'd add your comments or questions below, then please feel free and we will answer any questions. But if you've got any other insights that you would like to share, then please pop them below. And on the screen now, you should see our suggestions of the next video that you watch in order to inspire, challenge and support you to have the best accountancy practice that you can have.